Experian, as you probably all know, is a credit reporting agency. We do about $4 billion worldwide, of which about $500 million is in our Business Information Group, which is the part of the business that Joni and I are part of. Within the Business Information Group, we offer products across what we call the credit life cycle, which essentially is the ability to acquire new customers. We help our clients acquire new customers. We help them do credit checks on those new customers. We help them manage their existing account base, and we also help them manage collections. And kind of wrapped around all of that are some analytic capabilities that we have, as well as fraud and identity solutions. So pretty robust product line, complete, and we've, as I said, we've had obviously a lot of success with that product portfolio. On the business side, things are a little bit different than they are on the consumer side. On the business side, we compete with Dun & Bradstreet mostly, somewhat Equifax and a few other smaller niche players. But Dun & Bradstreet really is the 800-pound gorilla in the industry. However, because of advances in technology, because of certain things going on in the industry, the availability of business information generally, we feel that we've got a great opportunity right now to make market share progress against Dun & Bradstreet. But as with all those windows of opportunity, they can close very quickly. So we knew we had to move very quickly. And so we engaged in the development of what we've termed a power platform. We knew we had to be innovative to compete with D&B. They have a very well-entrenched, very well-respected brand in the industry. They also have very broad distribution relative to ours. So we needed this platform to really make ourselves more competitive with primarily, as I said, D&B. So what we wanted to do was we wanted to create a very easy-to-use portal that would bring together all the products that we have in our product line. We have a very robust product line, as I described before, the ability to acquire, to manage, to collect, fraud solutions, analytical solutions, and the like. But in order for our customers to get to those solutions, we've traditionally required them to go to 4 or 5 different places, which obviously doesn't do a whole lot for our customers, right? They want to use our products, but if you want to acquire a customer, here's the solution you use. If you want to manage your customer base, here's the solution you use. If you want to collect, here's the solution you use. So we wanted to bring all that together into a single portal. But more so, we felt that the real opportunity to innovate was around the user experience. We felt that we had to go beyond just taking care of the functional needs of our clients and needed to address their experience with the application. And keep in mind, one of the challenges that we face is this is not a technology-savvy group that we're dealing with. It's risk managers who tend to be their business users. So if you think of what their needs would be, they tilt more towards a consumer orientation, towards the applications that they use, versus a more technical-oriented interface or application that they might use. So we had to be very mindful of that. So in order to get into the real needs of our clients and to draw them into the development process, the first thing we did was conduct a survey of roughly 1,000 clients who had used previous access systems that we offered to get access to our products. And what you see on the screen are the top 4 things that they told us they needed help with, that our applications weren't delivering. And the first one is really the one that's of most importance, and that's the ability to search our database and return a business. Now, it sounds pretty simple, but it really isn't, and especially to make it easy. And Joni's going to speak about this in quite a bit of detail when her piece of the presentation comes up. But it was, it was very obvious that we needed to pay a lot of attention to that. We needed to make it easy to use and really to address our clients' needs. As I mentioned before, we needed a simpler UI, but at the same time, keep in mind that while these business users are not necessarily tech-savvy, they have very, very complex and sophisticated data and analytical needs. So we had a huge challenge on our hands. How do we create an easy-to-use UI or user experience that addresses all those very complex needs that they might have? And so we realized that we couldn't necessarily do it ourselves. In fact, this is when we brought Tandem 7 in to help us with this development. Because we knew, again, we couldn't do it ourselves. It was just a bit too much of a challenge for us. And one of the things that really drew Tandem 7 to us was during the discussion phase, they showed us a stock portfolio dashboard. I remember this very vividly. It was very easy to use. It was really designed for just a trader. And so we were looking at it, and we're like, wow, our clients probably could interact with this very easily and probably could use this information to make decisions both on a tactical level and on a strategic level. So having seen that from T7, we realized that, okay, here are the guys we want to work with. And what we're going to show you in a couple of minutes is what we came up with. And I think you'll see the same thing that I did, that as you look at it, it looks very, very easy to interact with and easy to decision off of. Now, we're going to show you a demo in a second, but before I do that, this is a screenshot of the initial dashboard. So when someone logs on in the morning, this is what they're going to see. And what it provides is a quick look at the most important accounts that they have in their database. It also provides an indication of any significant alerts that may have occurred on their most important accounts. And what that means is a prioritization activity around being able to find the accounts that are the most important. One of the things that we've seen in other systems like this is it's kind of like drinking from a fire hose. Here are the 100 changes that you had last night. You figure out which are the most important. But in working with T7, we figured out ways to prioritize those alerts. So only the most important ones come to the surface. So our clients now know which ones to work on most directly. And as you can see, it's real easy to find them. It's that little section right there in the middle. So that was one thing, anyway, that we felt was a real advance over what the competition could provide. And then that pie chart you see on the right is a way for our clients to manage their strategic policy. That's a risk distribution chart that shows how much risk you have in the portfolio. And for anybody who might be in the business, you know that that's an ever-changing thing. If you want to get more revenue, you loosen your credit policy. Well, that could do some damaging things to your portfolio, obviously. So you need to know when to tighten up a little bit. Conversely, if you're too tight and you're not generating enough revenue, you might feel the need to loosen up. Okay? So that chart will tell you exactly where you are at any given point in time, and you can react to it by changing your credit policies. So next, what I'd like to do is give you about a 2.5-minute demo of BusinessIQ, which is the product that we worked with Tandem 7 on. And I'd like you to pay specific attention to the search functionality as well as the way we handle decisioning, because those are two areas that Joni's going to drill into in a little bit more detail later on, but two areas that were very, very important for us to get right.
Managing commercial credit in today's economy can be a real challenge, especially if you're still using yesterday's risk management tools. Now's the time to advance your credit operations with Experian's BusinessIQ, a new web-based portal that makes your credit process more sophisticated without making it more complex. With BusinessIQ, you get industry best practices and analytical intelligence all in one easy-to-use, integrated platform. BusinessIQ delivers easy online access to comprehensive credit tools that let you monitor the health of your entire portfolio throughout the customer lifecycle, from application processing to portfolio management to customer collections. If you're like most organizations with lots of credit applications to process each month, it's important to find the business you're looking for quickly and accurately. BusinessIQ's quick search technology can shave hours off pulling credit reports and scores to assess risk. As you type, BusinessIQ instantly presents record matches with just a few keystrokes, letting you view credit reports and scores and even corporate linkage relationships, resulting in greater productivity and more efficient application processing. But proactive portfolio management is where BusinessIQ really shines. Real-time data updates and user-configurable alerts let you actively monitor and manage accounts. Prioritize the day's most important tasks to further save time. With just a few clicks, you can see who's declining, who's improving, and who needs immediate attention for upselling or collections. No matter how many accounts you manage, BusinessIQ's graphical screen views enable you to track the performance, trends, and aging of your portfolio in real time, right from your desktop. And if collections become necessary, BusinessIQ is ready, with powerful features that segment and prioritize delinquent accounts. Leverage Experian's brand power to stimulate repayment and discourage future delinquencies. So here's what to remember about the new BusinessIQ web portal. It's simple and easy to use. It offers secure online access and real-time alerts. It provides comprehensive views of your portfolio. And it comes with Experian's award-winning customer support and flexible access, including subscriptions and a monthly pay-as-you-go option. BusinessIQ from Experian, the new and simpler way to advance your business.
Okay, so that was a quick view of the application. That's a demo that we use for marketing purposes. So got a little commercially maybe at the end, but the important part was what you saw before that for this audience. In terms of, before I hand it over to Joni for a little bit more of a deep dive on how the development process proceeded, just to give you some idea of the results, we went to market in July 2010. We've already seen increased customer satisfaction results coming back to us. In fact, we had one client who had left us to go to D&B and came back in large measure because of BusinessIQ's availability. And his comment to me was, "I didn't think you guys could do it." And that was probably the most gratifying thing that I've heard in my time with Experian. I didn't think you guys could do it, but we did it. Again, in partnership with Tandem 7. The adoption rate's been great. We have over 2,000 clients on the system since starting in July of 2010. And in terms of ROI, and from my perspective as the guy who sponsored the project from the business side, we are going to meet our payback period in about half the time. So compared to the business case. So, you know, what could I say? So with that, I'd like to turn it back over to Phil.
Thank you, Dan. So I'd like to now welcome Joni Rolenaitis, the VP of Technology, to present her experience from the technology perspective. Please welcome Joni.
Thanks, Phil, and thanks everyone for being here today with us. You know, every time I see that demonstration, I'm reminded, I get that same feeling I'm sure you're all familiar with, large project development, that sort of pride mixed with intense anxiety and overwhelming relief from being on this side of a very large initiative. As you could see from the demo, BusinessIQ is in the vernacular of this summit, it's a B2B portal. In fact, it's probably, you could characterize it because we sell it to our clients who are businesses, and they also use that to evaluate their clients who are also businesses, a B2B2B portal. I tell you this because it is a client-facing portal, and as you can tell, it's very important to us. We drive a lot of our revenue through this. And so failure just simply was not an option for us. I'm reminded of a quote once that it is a tragedy, life is a tragedy that, not that it ends so soon, but that we wait so long to start it. And it seems to me that sentiment also applies to large software development, where it's the initial inertia that can be so hard to overcome. How do you begin such a monumental task? That's where we found ourselves in July of 2009, contemplating the beginning of this. We had our funding was approved, the project was approved. You see here our early concept models. We'd done a lot of planning for this. And yet, oh, by the way, we had our deadline, which of course every self-respecting project needs to have that carved in stone before you can officially start. So we were ready to go. And it was that getting started that was a little difficult for us. It happened that we had engaged with Tandem 7 to do the design, and they used a user-centered design methodology that had an added bonus for us. We were actually able to use that as an action framework to move forward for just this type of a project. And so I'd like to tell you a little bit more about that. All right, the project itself, we called it Pegasus internally. If you looked at it from a typical risk perspective, the people, process, and technology is a classic framework for evaluating project risk. We had something in every one of those areas, and I can say that the methodology that Tandem 7 brought to us actually helped us to directly mitigate risk in several of these areas, the fixed time to market and the launch, as well as we had 3 teams working in different places in the development effort. At height, we probably had 85 different individuals working as well, and indirectly mitigated some of the other risks that we had. With respect to the complex business process, which was definitely one of our risks, and Dan alluded to this earlier, we wanted to show you an example of that. What you see here is a very colorful slider, a visual technique that Tandem 7 helped us to develop. As Dan mentioned, what our clients do is evaluate the credit worthiness of their business clients. And to do so, one of the first things they have to do in the application is set cutoffs based on the score, the credit score, for what they approve, decline, and then in the middle is review those things. And so this is a slider on either side of that. As the client comes in to edit their credit policy, they can adjust those sliders on either side, the green being those applications, the score above which they approve, the red is where they decline, and the yellow is the area in which they manually review those. So as they're adjusting that slider, they can see the impact of that decision on their portfolio. So a very powerful, very popular and successful feature. But a lot of complicated statistics behind this. All right, so I thought what I'd do is to give you an example of that methodology in action is a little bit of the making of BusinessIQ. I'm going to use that quick search feature in order to take you through the methodology. Think of this as time-lapse photography to run through these. The quick search feature is a very important interaction for us. There's about 18 of these primary flows through the system, but this one you might call our money path. It is the mechanism by which a client will come in, select the business they're interested in, and then follow that through to the next action, which is generally to purchase a product. So a very important interaction to us. We were changing the way we had previously done this, and so we really needed to get this interaction correct. Here you see the quick search bar. You saw it in the demo as well. It operates just like the major consumer search engines where you start typing. As you're typing with each keystroke, the list below is modified. It shows you just the businesses that we have on file. You select one of those and are taken to the product selection screen. So first we'll look at the user research. So Tandem 7, along with our product managers, went out and conducted interviews, extensive interviews with our clients to get their feedback about what provided value to them, and created a series of personas for us. There were actually 6 for the application. I'm showing you Anna here, who is my personal favorite because she works really hard. She has a lot of applications to process every day, and she's really interested in a job well done. So quick search, if you look at her goals, is a very powerful tool for her to move quickly. It's a shortcut for her. So you get a compact description of who you're building this for, and it really helps the team to focus on what needs to happen next. Following that, you see the user interface requirements. These are a language description of the particular feature. This is quick search here. I'm reminded of just a few weeks ago I had somebody look at the user requirement and say, I see you're using the natural language technique for capturing requirements. You don't see that much more. I just responded that must be the using words to string into sentences and have that be the way to describe that. So he called me old school for that. But it is an awesome technique for being able to drive the development forward when everyone understands that. The other technique, the storyboard, was something that Tandem 7 taught us how to use. It's actually something borrowed from agile methodologies, but once again, to show the flow of the information through the system and the passing between the actors, so everyone had a real good idea of how to move forward with that. So you're getting a sense of how each of these deliverables over time helps to set that purpose and direction and move the project forward. Following that, this is something that every decent web development project has, the information architecture and navigation framework. You're just seeing a small snippet here of sort of the upper left-hand corner. There's 200 screens in the portal, and all of these are laid out so that you can see the screens themselves and all of the interactions and navigation flow between one and the other. Here you can see that quick search is the first thing that a client sees after logon and is the point at which they can move around the entire portal. Following that, probably the most popular deliverable for a web development effort, the wireframes. This is where the project really begins to gather momentum, because everyone can start to see what it looks like on the glass. And our Tandem 7 user experience architects were really starting to gain a tremendous understanding of our business so that they could translate that into what you see on the glass. Following that is the visual design. So then the artists at Tandem 7 now start to wave their magic wand, and you start to see the Experian brand come to life in a very appealing way. I should point out that that blue you see there is a very particular blue. It's Experian blue, not to be confused with any other shade of blue, for example, Gartner blue or IBM blue. So I can tell you the exact RGB combination that gets you that particular shade of blue. So it's been a few months now since we've actually been out to talk to those users and get their feedback. We now have a clickable prototype in the form of those wireframes we can take back out and validate with them, and thus assure that we still are delivering the value that they're looking for. We won't get to the end of this and have them say, you know, not quite what I was thinking about. We take those, in this particular case, we're looking at the quick search findings. We were able to incorporate those back into the development effort. And then what I feel was the most valuable deliverable for the development teams and the build teams was the UI specification. Here you have, this is over 200 or 300 pages if you print it out. Most folks just always had it open on their desktop. It is for every screen, every box, every button, every slider, every component on the glass. You see the format, the contents, the characteristics, and most important, the behavior. So it very quickly became the Bible that everyone used to communicate back and forth, removed all ambiguity about what needed to happen. And then the API specifications, of course, that's the handshake between the user interface, the middle tier application logic, and the back end data and content feeds. And then finally, a visual style guide. This is the permanent record of the artistic look and feel of the application. This is a description of all of the RGB, the pixel size, the font styles, everything that we needed to repeat and extend the platform. In fact, this is such a popular throughout Experian when other groups that are contemplating development, they see BusinessIQ, they love the look and feel of it. They call me, they ask for the HTML naturally, and I'm actually able to say, listen, take the visual style guide. You can repeat this for your own application development. So it's now making the rounds around the rest of the global organization. All right, with that, I think that it's time to do a before and after look at our legacy web portal. I must remind you that it is bad karma, of course, to say anything disparaging about prior development efforts, especially this one in which I had a stake in developing it as well. And I'll also remind you that for 8 years we've driven a great deal of revenue through this. So this is our BizApps legacy web portal. Once again, millions of dollars in revenue every year coming through this portal. So it works well. It's functional. Our customers have used it for years. I wouldn't call it intuitive. We had some funky ways of how you search for a business. You had to enter all of the search terms at once. And it served them, but it didn't have that breakthrough user experience that we needed for that. So, and although I thought it was very appealing at the time, I really didn't know what good design was. So here we have BusinessIQ now, which you've seen a couple of times. This is the dashboard, very intuitive interactions. We really don't need to do much training on this application. Everyone just knows how to move about. It's a power platform, enhances our brand image, and really creates that user experience that we were looking for. And, as Dan mentioned before, you hear at this conference a lot about governance. And I can say that one of the most powerful forms of governance is to have two people. We were co-executive sponsors whose careers were directly on the line for the successful delivery of this, and there was really no more powerful form of governance. So they asked us to share some of our success factors and our lessons learned, just in case they might be of some value to those of you out there. Dan, you have the first few?
Yeah. Yeah, the first was obviously focus on the end customer. As I mentioned during my piece, we spent a lot of time with clients trying to understand where we went wrong, as Joni pointed out in our previous application. So definitely engage them and get them involved. We did a lot of iterations with clients to get them to understand where we were going and what they needed. We wanted to leverage experts, as I mentioned also early on. We couldn't do it all ourselves, so we had Tandem 7 come in, and Tandem 7 did a great job helping us build out the application, creating that user experience that we were looking for. And then finally, don't underestimate the power of good design. Without it, I don't think we would be having the success that we're having today. And Joni, you wanted to...
Right, and I'll end with some fairly obvious advice. Plan the work and then work the plan. It's obvious, but it bears repeating over and over again. For a very large development effort, we went on, it was for 12 months. Everyone needs to have a sound and defensible plan. Every person on the project team, every one of the teams. And if you're going on for that long, you have to expect that you're going to be doing some amount of replanning. It's not cheating, especially if your end date doesn't change. Replanning is just life, so I wouldn't be fearful of doing that as often as you need to. And also engaging the business early and continuously. I've heard here that one of the, in fact it was Ray yesterday in the executing portal development projects who said that one of the biggest reasons for failure is that the technology will rule. I mean, personally, I have no problem with empire building, but I know that it doesn't actually work. And eventually those types of projects where the technology is driving the business, they tend to fail. And they take a long time to fail, which is very unfortunate and very expensive. So what we found was very successful is that having dual co-executive sponsors, it flies in the face of that executive logic that says, let's have a single throat to choke. But in addition to having, they could never get two of us in the line of sight to shoot us at the same time. So there was a nice balance there. But at the same time, it was great to be able to share all of those decisions and really get a nice balance on the governance for the project. So another reason that we were able to pull this off. And with that, I think we've shared with you all we know about BusinessIQ. Phil, did you want to conclude?
Yes, thank you, Joni.